right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing? It is hopefully a wonderful Tuesday, July the 20th for you out there in YouTube land. We have had, I've had an interesting evening. A couple hours ago, all of a sudden my internet went dead. And I was really thinking this wasn't going to happen today because it wasn't just me having problems. It was like the entire neighborhood I live in. Just no more internet. We hope you've enjoyed your time with us. But fortunately, 15 minutes ago, internet came back. Hopefully it stays up. Hopefully it stays up the entire time. I'm doing a little bit better than yesterday. My brain is still in a fog. I feel like I got a bit of a head cold coming on. But I tell you, the thing that really drained my brain today was Bird of Prey 5 stream. And his special guest. If you guys missed it, wow. How would you even describe this guy, John?
I think he's a class A troll. That's the best way to describe him, I think. Like the stuff coming out of his mouth. I mean, there's no way anybody could actually believe that. At least that was my impression.
You don't think he was legit?
No, I think he was trolling.
So if anyone didn't see this guy, he was talking about how we need to stop eating vegetables and fruit and only eat meat. He was claiming that humans are carnivores, that water is bad for your health, that you only need to drink blood, that you should only be drinking blood.
And raw meat. Don't cook it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And raw meat. And he was making the point like, well, look at all the other carnivores out there. You don't see any of them cooking their meat. To which I would say, yes, but we're not carnivores. We eat meat, but we also need vegetables. Like if he is legit on this, he's got to be like weeks from getting scurvy. I mean, there's no way that he could possibly be cutting vitamin C out of his life and not be at risk for scurvy. And then add to that, it looked like he ate some raw beef. Did you see that part?
I saw he was eating something. I couldn't really tell what it was.
It looked like it could have been some ground beef, before you actually brown it. Maybe it was only Spam. Maybe it was corned hash. Like, there's lots of things that kind of look that way that are pre-cooked. Like Spam is pre-cooked. They suggest you cook it more, but it's in theory edible. Of course, once you cook it, I'd still put that in the theory edible category. But like, in theory, you can open a can of Spam and go to it. But he claims it was ground beef, and I will say this for him: if this was a troll and he legit ate ground beef, he was dedicated to it. It didn't seem like he was too interested in the first bite. It seemed like he was willing to go for it after that. But at the very least, if you're going to eat raw meat, first of all, don't. Just don't. He was trying to say, like, there's, like, no one has ever gotten sick from a microbe or a parasite.
Yeah, they're just little bugs, you can't get sick from that.
Yeah, and I'm like, have you not met John? Like, you need to read about Jon Snow, not the guy from Game of Thrones, the Dr. Jon Snow, who was the father of modern epidemiology, the study of how disease spread, and how he learned and worked out that I think it was diphtheria, was caused by drinking polluted water. That a child's nappies would go into this, what they thought was a sealed garbage well, and it turned out there's a leak coming from that waste cistern going into the water cistern, and that one leak is what caused the spread of, was it diphtheria? It was something with the T. It causes violent diarrhea and vomiting. People would die because of the becoming severely dehydrated from it. I want to say it was diphtheria. I swear someone's gonna be like, oh gosh, Matt, you idiot, it's not diphtheria, it's this other D thing. But he's an amazing guy. So he would definitely say people die from microbes all the time. Coronavirus, another microbe. He later switched it to parasites, but my goodness, just the longer he talked, the more I'm like, this guy's a nutter. I think he was legit. I think he honestly believes these things and is just a nutter. And I could see him having like a whole host of vitamins that he takes to fill his deficiencies from only eating meat. Because otherwise you're going to lose your teeth. You are. I mean, cows can't provide you with vitamin C. You need it. Oh my goodness. But it was...
You're just too far removed from nature, Matthew.
I am. That's something he said. He said, you're too far from nature. And as Thomas is saying, he literally said, stop reading textbooks. He's like, you've just bought into the lie of like big textbooks or something. And I'm like, wait. On the one hand,
textbooks
you're asking...
are from the patriarchy.
Clearly. On the one hand, he was demanding for like, I need to see scientific proof. I need to see a scientific study that proves this. To which, look at any health report. Like my mom works in the health industry. She is a health inspector, goes to restaurants, makes sure that they're doing the things so that you don't get sick eating there. And we have good fun. I tease her a lot because I think it's some government overreach, her whole job. But at the same time, I appreciate the fact that there are health inspectors in general. But she has so many reports she could give of people who literally call her every day saying, I ate at this restaurant, and start to throw up afterwards because their food wasn't properly handled. It was left out of the correct temperature zones for too long. It went rancid. It was sitting in a buffet and they didn't have sneeze guards on it. Like, there's all these things you have to do that are so very important. And when people don't, people get sick. Oh gosh. But it was hilarious. But I do feel like after that conversation, my brain cells kind of atrophied a little bit. But thankfully, I'm here with John. And we're going to watch some SeaQuest. And that will surely get me back
smarter
to...
again.
Yeah, we'll get me back to the double digits, hopefully back to the triple by the end of this stream. 101, let's go for average. That's all I'm looking for. Yeah, Cinnabon, millennials, what can you do? Hey, Arvixander, how you doing today? And thank you everyone in the chat. Thomas Potts, John DiMarco was, of course, here first, giving us the lovely dolphin message. Our usual greeting.
Dolphins.
Always the Dolphins. Dolphins for the win. And yes, I was late. Like I said, I had internet problems. They're worked out, hopefully. If all of a sudden I drop off, well, I can't do nothing about it. That's how it'll end. I would say John could pick it up, but unfortunately, I'm not actually streaming from StreamYard. We just use this as a kind of a landing ground, and then I stream from my computer. So, you know, that's that. I just realized something. I'm missing my little blackout square. Whatever. Not gonna worry about it at this point. He said, is he worried about it profusely? Weird. Thomas Potts, Cinnabon Bunny, how you guys doing tonight? Melphis Sky, so glad that you are here, saying spam tastes better fried. I think so too. I have had spam in the past, and don't read the ingredients of spam. Just enjoy the taste. That's something I learned.
Well, I see that Thomas said hashtag the pub must go on.
That's true. The pub will go on. It will. I'm just worn out right now, and mostly from this cold stuff I woke up to. Spent the whole night basically with the half my nose clogged up and the other half at like 25% capacity. So you never sleep well like that. And I'm ready for a little break. We'll do a little hiatus. I'll do game nights on pub night, and then we'll come back when Lower Deck starts, and we're gonna have a wonderful time then. And once Lower Decks ends, I don't know. We'll decide at that point. I may go back to doing games until we get some good nerd stuff to talk about. and hang out and debate over, or we'll see what comes up at that point. And yes, Thomas, I too wish that Alexander had been on that panel. That would have been interesting.
That's one way to put it.
Cinnamon Bunny was saying, yeah, like I'm going to listen to someone that drinks Spock juice. So Thomas, did you find this randomly? Did you buy this book? Because if so, I want to know like where I can get a copy of this. But it is Star Trek Drinks.
I think Eagle Moss did it to him.
Oh, it would be an Eagle Moss thing, of course. But it had the Tilly drink, which I felt was a little bit racist. They said, use a Mexican beer, any Mexican beer, get a lime and put the lime wedge around the glass, the rim of the beer bottle, and then, no, you had to put it in a different glass because the next step is to flip it upside down. So no, it had to be a different glass. Then you dip it in like chili powder or Tabasco sauce. Then you pour the beer in there, put the lemon wedge on, and drink it. Now, I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of recipes like this for beer, where usually you're just doing the sea salt on the crushed sea salt on the edge of it, and it's specifically light beer, like a Corona. So for them just to say Mexican beer, assuming that all Mexican beer is light colored in nature, I think, no, you need to specify exactly what you want here. And why even specify, like, I feel like the only reason they specified Mexican is because they're doing like this chili powder and salsa Tabasco thing. And it's like, you're just being racist all over the place. Whoever wrote this book. I'm sorry. But
yeah, sounds like Matthew's kind of thing.
Yeah, I should know racism when it's spouted. I mean, come on. Have you seen this? But as Cinnamon says, like he's gonna listen to someone who drinks Spock juice. That one actually looks interesting. That one was.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can get pulled up here. It is 2 ounces of tequila, 1 ounce of Midori, which is a melon liquor, and then 1 ounce of lime juice with a little ice. So I think that one actually sounds kind of interesting. The only problem is I don't want to buy a melon liqueur just for one drink. Like if I'm not going to be a bartender, I don't want to be like, and you can see I've had that bottle of melon liqueur for the past 6 years, which it's not like it's going to go bad, but still that just seems like a waste.
There was a picture of Leonard Nimoy in a glass that really got him.
It was, man, that gave me a little heart palpitation or something. I'm not sure what's up with that, but some sort of throwback to a week ago, I think. Hey, LDG of Geeks and Joy, how you doing? Hope that you are still around, and happy birthday. I heard that was it 50? Your 50th? Or was it your 40th? I've heard conflicting reports. I've heard a couple years younger than Anti, and I want to say I've heard AARP levels too, so I don't know who's telling the truth. Someone's saying that you get vitamins from the part of animals that start with the vitamin letter you need, clearly. So if you need vitamin C, you just need to eat carrion. Yeah, I don't think that's...
Yeah.
I don't think that... A carcass, I guess, could give vitamin C. Cat?
Well, someone's saying the colon he's saying, so that might work.
Oh gosh, no. Oh, wow. Yes. And guess Matt isn't going to read all the comments. Well, it would hardly be a Matthew stream if I did, Thomas. And hey, Robert Rose Jr., how are you doing tonight? Glad that you're here, my friend. And Thomas is confirming that, yes, Eagle Moss sent it to him. And Cinnabon saying that the chat jumped and YouTube erased them. It's entirely possible. The chat just jump and I'm bad about reading. It's a team effort between me and YouTube. And Cinnabon saying that the Tilly drink is for when you're too lazy to make a margarita. I think so. Melphis was saying that the only Mexican beer he likes is the Modelo Shadela. So I like Modelo a lot. I like their dark version of it. And I forget what they call that one. But they do have a light one and they do have a darker one. And I like the dark one. Because I don't really like light beer. I think I've had a single light beer in all my life. Decided it wasn't for me. And have stuck to the dark beers. Which I like a whole lot. But, hey, not for everyone. No offense to anyone who doesn't like that sort of thing. And thank you, Thomas. LDG is 41, or at least that's what he told you. We'll run with it. So we have pontificated long enough. Oh, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be a complete idiot. Maybe I should only be partial.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put a link to CYTube for everyone. So I just dropped the link in the chat. Let me go ahead and get that pinned for everyone. This is the way it's going to work, people. If you go to if you go to the link in that pinned chat during this stream and only during this stream, you will go to my watch room over on SciTube. And this is going to sync up of all of our watch times so that while John and I are talking about the episode, you can actually see what we're talking about as long as, you know, we're talking about it. Sometimes we just sit here in silence because there's nothing going on. Sorry. But as long as we're talking, you will be able to be synced up with us. If you are at some point in the future, I'm sorry you can't use my watch room to watch it. But what you can do, and what I highly recommend you do, is go to peacocktv.com and sign up for a free account there, and you can watch all 3 seasons for free at Peacock TV, which, you know, it's one of the better streaming interfaces. Like, for some reason, Disney hasn't figured out how to do streaming. Netflix has got it figured out. Disney needs to take some notes from Netflix. But at least Peacock is a step above Disney, a step above CBS All Access with their interface. And you can watch all 3 seasons, so I highly recommend it. If you don't want to send out your email address to yet another streaming service, which I get. Even though it's free, I understand there's some people who don't want that. Go buy them. The DVDs are available on Amazon. You can certainly get them on eBay. They are pretty inexpensive. I want to say each week I look, they are in the $20 to $30 range, which, seeing how there's only 3 seasons of them, that's not that bad. Let's do a quick look. SeaQuest Season 3 on Amazon. Okay, well, that one's Blu-ray and it's $50, but usually they're much better priced. SeaQuest TSV, the complete season, 1 through 3 seasons on Blu-ray for $100. That's tempting. 65 on DVD, which I'm honestly surprised. Like, I had forgotten how low quality DVD was. Like, I thought that was surely 1080p, and we were talking about this last week or something, but DVD's only 480p. It's not even 720, and I was really shocked. Well, here we go. SeaQuest DSV Season 2, $12. You go to Amazon right now, you can get the DVDs of SeaQuest for $12. That's pretty dang cheap. Of course, that's just Season 2. If you want all of them, well, you'll have to look at somewhere else. Ooh, Warehouse 13, the complete series for $60 on Blu-ray. That's a distraction I'm going to have to look up later.
If you do order it online, just make sure it's region 1 if you're in the United States. Because sometimes they're from different regions.
That's true. You do need to make sure that you have the right region. I used to have a way to set my DVD player to region 0. It no longer works, and I'm sad by that. Like, my computer DVD player, I had one that I could specifically set to region 0 and worry about nothing. But now they do let you change your regions, but you can do it like 3 times and then it's locked in. So you definitely want to make sure you have the right region. Or you might say, I'm just going to buy things cheap from like region 2 or 3 because they still have English on them. I'm just going to set this DVD player that's $20 that I got, you know, a little USB drive, and it's going to be my region 2. So I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. No, it's not illegal, Thomas. These are free legal softwares that you can use. It's just whenever you buy it, you are technically supposed to buy it for your region. But I'm pretty, well, I said that with such confidence, and now I don't know. Curse you, Thomas, and your probably rightness all the dang time.
Being legal, you know.
Yes. And Thomas is saying, I better design a background for B5. Yes, right. I will have to.
Yes. And
hey, Sci-Fi Nation, as long as you're here, I want to make sure, I know I've talked about this lots, but I want to make sure that you hear me say this, because I have been talking about this for months, that once SeaQuest is done, I was going to watch Babylon 5 with Jeff, which, Jeff, I hope that you're out there. I saw the message you sent me. Please look at Discord and see the message I sent you back. I absolutely was not talking about you. I apologize that you got that idea when I was talking the other day. You are not anyone that I was talking about last night, and I hope there's no hard feelings. But after SeaQuest, I was going to watch Babylon 5 with Jeff. I've been talking about this for months. I just want to make sure you knew, so you didn't feel like I was stepping on your toes in about 2.5, 3 months from now when I actually get to Babylon 5. I think you're going at a much faster rate than I will be. So you should be in like season 2 or maybe close to season 3 by the time I start up. So I just wanted to make sure you knew, because I've been talking about it, but I wasn't sure if you had heard it from the horse's mouth at this point yet. So if, however, man, I get off on so many rabbit trails so easily. If you're in the future or right now, you only have one device or you just don't want to pull up the screening room, then I will provide clips right below. We grab them one clip every 5 seconds and we use them just as a reference so you can know what we're talking about as we talk about it. There will be no audio. You're going to have to trust in John and I to talk about it, and you're going to have to trust that I don't get too distracted, which, I mean, I'm sorry. That's a bad trust to trust in.
Yeah.
But we will keep doing these for as long as we can. Cinnabon Bunny was pointing out that a lot of companies have been relaxed about these watch parties during COVID, and now that COVID is ending, things may get more strict. We should be okay. We're not showing large clips of it. We're not providing audio. We are transforming it in a dynamic way with commentary. This is all legal under fair use, and I think the thing that really makes this okay for us, the thing that makes Peacock TV, who owns Peacock? NBC, I think it is.
Yes.
The thing that makes NBC more okay with this setup is very much because John and I love this show, and we every week we talk about how to get for free and how to buy it, and it's a crazy thing. But companies tend to like it when you talk good about their product and tell people to go out and buy it. So I think we'll be good for as long as we do this. Sci-Fi Nation saying, if you want, I will stop B5 Sundays and you can do it collab. No, Sci-Fi. You keep doing you. You keep having fun. I wanted to make sure that you knew that like 3 months from now, I plan on starting it up, and I'm only gonna do 1 episode a week. So I'm gonna be going so much slower than you. You're going to get done light years before me. So I think it'll be just fine. I think we have enough diversity in our audiences where, you know, people won't mind. So you keep doing you. I just want to make sure that you knew before, like 3 months from now, I started doing it. And you're like, what the heck, Matt? I thought we were cool. So with all that housekeeping out of the way, what do you say we go ahead and get this episode started here?
Sounds good.
So I'm going to give a quick 5-second countdown. Then I'm going to hit play in the screening room. If you're in the future, this is your window to get ready. Hope you have it pulled up either from having bought it off Amazon or by having a Peacock TV account, and you'll be good to go with this too. So here we go, everyone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit that play button. And do let me know, by the way, if y'all hear that on the stream. You shouldn't, but you never can tell with me. I tend to pretty reliably get something wrong.
It's true.
So the episode starts off with a public service announcement reminding you to keep the streets clean, that they are here for your use and entertainment. But everyone's making fun of Piccolo because he talks about having gills, so they're all like doing gill motions in the background. But he apparently got this coupon to this daydream place, total immersive virtual environment. They put a couple little diodes on your head, and it gives you the ability to have a complete immersive experience called Virtual Dreams. Okay, Thomas is saying no sound on YouTube. Very good. Thank you, Thomas. That's exactly what you want. And Sci-Fi Nation saying, I need to learn how to do this with clips on the stream. Sci-Fi, remind me about that. I will send a link to you. I'll send a link to you on on Twitter. I wrote my own program for doing this. I'll give you the whole details for how to get it set up. It will automatically grab it and create a clip every 5 seconds with this little crossfade I do.
I said, no, the SeaQuest did not, in fact.
Sorry, what was that? You dropped out there.
I'm sorry, I was saying, as Thomas said, this is more of a land quest episode. There's not, in fact, a disco on the SeaQuest.
That's true. And yes, Annabelle, this is like the poor man's holodeck on Voyager, the episode with the Equinox, I believe it was. Or Equinox. So they get in, instead of $40, it's only $20. And they were hoping they could get a discount for Dagwood, but she says, no discount. So Piccolo kindly pays the fare for his brother like a good brother should. And Lewis is impressed with this lady. She's reading this book by Mannheim. And, man, she has her shields up. B'Elanna Torres would be entirely improving of how on the defense she is against Lewis's advances. Like, she's just ready to find offense. He's like, I'm surprised you're reading that. She's like, what, because I'm a girl? And he's like, well, no, because, like, this is a really complex thing and not many people like it. I mean, it's like, seriously, I'd had that response to anyone. Like, oh, hey, you're a quantum mechanics, doctorate? Wow, that's really impressive. What, because I'm a guy? Because you're an anything? But he tries to get her number, and she shoots him down. She has not going to do it. So he dejectedly runs off or walks off to his daydream. So Piccolo's fantasy is to be a rock star, and everyone's shouting his name, Tony, Tony, which is his actual name. I'm not sure I think Piccolo is either his last name or some sort of...
Yes, Piccolo's his last name.
But you see someone holding up a sign in the background that says Gilboy. And Miguel Ortiz, he has a fantasy of being a Confederate and the antebellum South. So I guess this is like his Gone with the Wind fantasy.
Yeah.
And of course, Hancock. You
mean Henderson?
Henderson. Oh.
Yes.
I combined Hitchcock and Henderson. Yeah, Henderson is playing, his opposite. And they set him up for the famous line, the frankly, my darling, I don't give a darn. But O'Neill's fantasy is to be the captain of the SeaQuest. And he calls out to, have the computer guy hack in. And the computer guy is Bridger, doing a perfect impersonation, complete with the, putting the glasses up. And
Dagwood has the best daydream. He's just talking to Darwin.
He has his head set upside down. Dagwood's like, Dagwood like Darwin. Dagwood like Darwin too. And then he reaches out to pet him. But Lewis is missing. He's gone off apparently with the receptionist. She invited him back to her place.
Well, apparently being a nerd pays off occasionally.
Every once in a while. Springtime wants to know, does Life with Matthew like Super True Disco? Oh, who doesn't like Super True Disco? The flashing lights, the bad dance moves. I mean, it was literally the dance moves made for white boys. You just, back and forth. That's all you gotta do. And apparently this girl, she doesn't just like very intelligent people, reading their books at least, but her dad is the lead scientist at the UEO. I mean, Lewis is just totally surprised. Why do you have the picture of this guy? And she goes, well, it's my dad. And he's totally geeking out about the fact that her dad is this big time science guy. Which, I mean, I can get that. Like, can you imagine if you went to someone's house, you just met them, frankly, a guy or a girl, without romance involved, obviously, and just like, oh, wow, your brother is like the head writer for the original TOS? Like, you know Fontaine? I'd even be excited if I met like someone whose brother was like a Braga. That'd be pretty cool.
By Fontaine, do you mean DC Fontana?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly what I mean. See, I'm gonna get the name wrong if I say I'm gonna be like the ED Fontana. I knew I was gonna get something wrong, so I'm just gonna shortcut it and go straight to just the last name. I know I can get the last name right, but I was wrong.
Nope.
So she's pouring the charm on Lewis. She's like, he's being intelligent, asking a few questions. And she gets, again, offended. Do you really think I meet a lot of guys who like this author? Do you think I invite a lot of guys up here? And he's like, no, I didn't mean it like that. And she claims that she was at a soccer game and she dropped her book bag and someone's Universal Constants of the Universe fell out of her Nancy Drew book. And she was so embarrassed that everyone knew that instead of reading Nancy Drew, she was reading this, super high calculus book. And Lewis, bless his heart, sticking his foot in his mouth all over the place. He tries to backpedal, which, I mean, to be fair, she's very much the modern woman. Everything he's saying is, well, why did you say that? Why are you saying this? Are you implying that? So he's like, well, I didn't want you to think I was trying to hit on you or trying to say you're beautiful. And then she pulls a 180, like, oh, well, I would have liked it if you thought I was beautiful and were hitting on me. And then she goes
another example of SeaQuest predicting the modern day very well.
Exactly. Now, unfortunately, Lewis made a fundamental error. He forgot to tell his bros that he was leaving the party. They've been looking for him all over the place. He knows there's a 2 a.m. curfew. It's now 8 in the morning. He is 6 hours AWOL. And here he comes, strutting up with just a crap-eating grin on his face. And it's funny, Bridger says, you realize you're 6.5 hours AWOL. I guess at this time they thought people wouldn't know what AWOL was.
Yeah.
And Lewis points out that I'm a civilian. It's kind of hard for me to be absent without leave when I'm not a military officer. And then he drops the bomb. He wants to leave SeaQuest. He's requesting leave and resigning his position aboard the SeaQuest. And Bridger says, well, it's effective as when? And he says, effective immediately. We're done.
Yes, I'm resigning my not commission.
Yeah, which that's true, John. He just made a big point about how he was a civilian, and now he's requesting to be discharged. It's like, well, no, you just say you quit. You don't have to ask. But well, just shh, we'll ignore that. Did Matthew call it all? No, AWOL. Absent without leave. Oh, authorized. Yeah, absent without leave. They don't really address what the O's for.
Well, I just assume it's from the out part of without.
Eric Sonder. Oh no, who can I get to replace him? Lewis is indispensable.
Yeah, he's probably the second most important crew member on the ship.
Right behind Darwin, yeah.
Exactly.
Which clearly this is another episode in which the Darwin animatronic is being repaired. Because all they could do is do the CGI version with Dagwood. Josh is saying that AWOL does in fact mean absent without official leave. There we go. I got hung up because I said authorized. I'm like, well, authorized is an A. That can't work. And Piccolo is the voice of reason right now. He's saying, Lewis, you're thinking with the wrong appendage. You're not... You're gonna, get hurt by this. You've known her for like 10 minutes. And Lewis is quick to correct her. No, I've known her for 6 hours. Because, oh, well, okay, fine. 6 hours. I'm wrong at every point then. And, Lewis is saying that there's no way you can understand how I feel about this. And Piccolo, he calls him out on this. Like, Lewis is definitely being an idiot, but Piccolo says, why? Because you're a genius and I'm an ex-con? We're both guys. Yes, I understand this. What? So she's different. She seems to know what you're thinking. I mean, yeah, she's beautiful, but it's more than that. She seems just to know what you're going to say before you even say it. Like, maybe we knew each other in some other life, and it's just supposed to be. And Lewis is, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. He's 100% right. Which is why, Piccolo's he's a funny guy and he's a smart guy. Smarter than people give him credits.
Yep.
And he's just had it up with Lewis as he leaves. Like, oh, kids. And for some reason, B'Elanna Troy is around whenever Lewis comes to be officially discharged from his not commission. And he's right. Like, he says, why is she here? And she gets offended, but it's a legit question. He's a civilian. Why is she here? But Daddy Bridger, puts him in his place, tells him to start thinking again. And Lewis hands over his letter of resignation just to make it official. And Bridger says, well, I don't have to accept this. Which, I mean, technically true. An employee doesn't have to accept your official resignation. But apparently, if Bridger doesn't accept it, all it's going to do is delay his departure by 3 months. Somehow, even though he's a civilian, the process of getting discharged would be a 3-month process. Now, maybe I'm not understanding something about the military. Like, maybe if you were an actual contractor, a civilian contractor working aboard a nuclear submarine, maybe there would be an official process that you have to go through to be released.
I don't know.
I don't know either. But maybe so. But Bridger is saying, look, just give me 24 hours. And Lewis is not having any of it. He just wants to leave. He wants to be done with this. He wants to be with the girl. And Bridger's saying, what's the rush? If she's really this amazing person who's your soulmate, then don't you think she would wait for you? Don't you think you should take the time to figure it out? And, Thomas. I'm getting real bad with names tonight. Lewis.
Wow.
I guess a young man, incredibly smart, just made me think of Thomas there. Lewis.
Good save.
Thank you. I think on my feet every once in a while. Lewis begrudgingly says, fine. Even though that's not how the world works, I'll wait 24 hours and talk with her again, make sure we're on the same page. Josh wants to know Did I forget I was starting in the Sega Echo game, starting in the Sega game Echo, The Tides of Time, and Echo Junior. Nope, I'm not starting those. Nope. And yes, Sci-Fi, Belana Troy, because I tried to insult the psychic character once, and I messed up the name. Instead of saying Deanna Troy, I said Belana Troy, and I just run with it. Belana Troy aboard the SeaQuest and the MCI.
But Lucas is all upset because his new girlfriend is apparently being abducted by some shady characters.
And everyone's remarkably calm in this too. Now, Lewis goes running for this taxi cab. And this is interesting. There's no driver in that taxi cab, thankfully, because it just got blown up. But Lewis was going to jump into the passenger, like the cabbie, not the cabbie area, the passenger area. I don't know what he was expecting. Like maybe it's all automated now and he could just be like, follow that car, and the automated program would chase down the car. I don't know how the future works.
Maybe. They finally perfected self-driving cars.
Yeah. But thankfully there was no driver because they blow it up. And now we have the future police, complete with future Columbo. And I like this Columbo character. He holds up like this pin device and goes, "What do you think this is?" And Lucas takes it and he's like, I don't know. What is it? And he goes, if I knew, I wouldn't be asking. So Lucas takes it and then he tries to hand it back to Columbo, but Columbo, he just rejects it. So he's asking Lewis some questions. Lewis is like, I've already answered all this. And he's like, well, I'm just a cop. I'm a slow guy. Humor me. Go over this again. He's trying to figure out how he met this girl. What do you know about her father? And Lewis like, what, her father? And Columbo's like, yeah, the man who married her mother. And the cop's being, slightly aggressive with this questioning, but, not like angrily aggressive, just like really intense probing, kind of like a good detective might. And Lewis is like, what? Are you always this way? Like, have I offended you somehow, or are you just naturally unpleasant? And Columbo's like, yeah, I like that. I'll tell my wife about it later. She likes to find up little things like naturally unpleasant. And Lewis keeps trying to hand this device back to the guy, and he keeps ignoring him. And, they found a couple thumbprints, but nothing really definitive. And Columbo gives the usual line about, don't go anywhere, stay in the area. And Lewis says, if you hear anything, please let me know. And Columbo says, well, yeah, you're on my mailing list. And then as Lewis walks off, he says, hey, you forgot something. And he takes back his little pin-like device. And apparently he was telling the truth, because the pin device was actually a lie detector, a portable lie detector. And his partner says, one of these days you're going to get busted by this because someone's going to know what it is. And Columbo's like, yeah, but until then the trick keeps working.
The amazing tech of the future.
Which I like that tech. That was an interesting little device.
Yeah, that was nice.
So everyone, here's me as a kind of a front desk guy. He says, "Are you Lewis? Are you Lewis Walchenczek?" And he's like, "Yeah, Wallenschek." And it says, "Meet me at this location." Signed Sandra, which is the girl's name, and it's a GPS locator. So it's basically a geolocation game now, where he just follows it to the GPS coordinates, and he thinks he might find his newest girlfriend. Thomas says, "Sucking up to me won't help you." Aravic Sander wants to know who had the worst wardrobe: Lewis, Jake, I assume you mean Cisco, or Wesley Crusher. I think Jake got the worst wardrobe at the very beginning, that weird purple onesie they gave him when he was a very tall guy. Like, Wesley also had a onesie that wasn't very flattering, but Jake being tall and lanky, it made it worse. Lewis is actually very, very snappily dressed for a 90s kid.
Yeah.
But Lewis is again missing. No one knows where he is. Hasn't heard from him. And Bridger is continuing along with his horticultural bent, doing kind of some bonsai trees. And makes a point that, the trees don't grow this way. It takes a lot of time and effort and patience. And Lana Troy says, yeah, kind of like children. So Lewis has shown up at like this dock area, trying to find the geolocation, stuck between these wooden pallets, which, I mean, if you're into creating things out of wooden pallets, this would be a dream come true for you. Just stacks and stacks of it. Have you done any wooden pallet stuff?
No, I haven't.
I tried once and quickly figured out that this wasn't the craft for me, that I lacked the ability to do amazing things with reclaimed wood. So finally, he runs into a dock worker, and he's like, well, you lose something? And Lewis says, yeah, I was looking for someone. The guy goes, oh, a girl? Well, cheer up. You came to the right place. And he pulls out a trank dart gun and gives 2 quick tranks into Lewis's chest there. And Sci-Fi is talking about a TV series called Otherworld. It was a 1-season wonder from the 80s that did the self-driving cars. I'll have to check out Otherworld. Let me write it down real quick. There were way too many 1-season wonders. Like Mantis. So Lewis wakes up and he finds that his girl Sandra has been slapped across the face, it looks like. As if I was saying, holy low stream, had to turn my TV up to 45, Batman. Springtime was so, didn't they have smartphones by 2019? They had smartphones, like, in real life. 2019 is when this takes place. Yes, we definitely had smartphones by 2019. That's game. I had a smartphone in, like, the year 2000, I want to say. Maybe 2001. Like, I signed up for my own plan and everything, much to the surprise of my parents. Which, I mean, I don't know why I was allowed to, as a minor, sign up for my own cell phone plan, but I did.
Well, that kind of thing gets by in Kuroga more than other places, I think.
It clearly does. And we find out that they didn't really care about her. They wanted Lewis, and they figured the best way to get him was to kidnap this girl, because they saw Lewis leaving her apartment, the next morning. And she continues to talk about, oh, you're the only one for me. Do you think it's possible to just know from the bottom of your heart that you've met the person you belong with, even though it's only been like 6 hours? He says, oh yeah, absolutely. And here we go. Now we know what they want. They don't really want Lewis. they want the SeaQuest, and they think Lewis is going to be the one who can do it. And just to show they mean business, he pulls out his trank gun and shoots Sandra. Just so that Lewis will feel a little more cooperative. And I agree, Sci-Fi. Mantis was an awesome show. So we find out that today, some guy was just sworn in as the third chancellor of the UEO, which you may remember from last season that Admiral Pierce's dad was... Do they call him the chancellor or the president?
I think his title was Secretary General or something along those lines.
Yeah, okay. So no, we have a better position now, and it's the head chancellor. And we find out their plan to get the SeaQuest is the Dead Man codes. That we want them, because once we have them, we're going to be able to control SeaQuest. And Lewis claims ignorance. But they have all the schematics for the SeaQuest. They know everything about it. And they had some sort of failsafe built into the SeaQuest, such that if there were no one left, if everyone aboard the SeaQuest was incapacitated, then they could switch on the Dead Man's codes and take over. Something that would have been very useful to know for Ford back in the Tell No Lies episode, where the SeaQuest was taken over, and Darwin, of course, saved the day, and he and Hitchcock had to work together to take out these group of terrorists who wanted to use the SeaQuest to, take over the world, basically.
Well, by the way, hello, Cinnabon. Glad you could join us.
Let's see. Springtime is saying that Outer World. Is it Outer World or Other World? Outer World is basically the guy from Breaking Bad chasing a family in a parallel world. Outer World. Interesting. And apparently the SeaQuest is designed such that if there's no one aboard, then there is a backup Dead Man code at the navigator's chair. And it just so happens that all of SeaQuest is basically going to be emptied out tomorrow to celebrate the big shindig of the third chancellor being appointed. So if he can go in and get this read-only module from the navigator area, then he can bring it back to these guys. They can put it in their computer and be able to use the codes aboard this module to take over the SeaQuest, which is actually somewhat reasonable. Because if you have ever had anyone who works in accounting and they do like a lot of transactions with banks, then what ends up happening is that the banks will give them this USB key fob, or also oftentimes places like Charles Schwab or any of these big financial firms. And the USB key, you'll plug it into your computer and it will actually every few minutes generate a new code based on this like 1024 byte math algorithm, which is almost unbreakable. Like by the time you could break it, it has changed codes 100 times since then. Like literally every 5 minutes the code is refreshing. So aboard the SeaQuest, they change the code every single minute, so that you have to have the piece of hardware along with some sort of access code. Now in the SeaQuest you don't need the access code, but in real life you have to log on with your account and validate it against this hard hardware USB fob thing. So Lewis is making a quick stopover to get this read-only module. And of course, Henderson is...
Wow, you got it right.
I had to stop and think about that one hard. Henderson is here. She's the only one aboard. And of course, she's 100% supportive. She's the only one supportive about this. So Lewis asks for a favor. She won't stop talking to him. So he's like, can you do me a favor? And she's like, oh, you need a little advice about girls. Okay, so first you need to tell her that you love her at least once a day. And you need to actually listen when she talks. And Lewis goes like, yeah, that's nice. But no, what I need you to do is go get me a book. I have this specific book in my quarters. Can you please go get it? So he's just trying to get Henderson away so that he can steal this module and so that she will stop talking to him, quite frankly. And Josh Street saying, we demand Sci-Fi Nation as co-host alongside of John for next week's start of B5, episode 1. Months away, Josh. Months away. And Sci-Fi is saying that he does in fact need a co-host for Babylon 5 Sundays and Andromeda Tuesdays. If there are any takers, please hit him up. And Andromeda is another one of those great sci-fi shows that unfortunately went downhill after a writer change. And Kevin Sorbo unfortunately gets a lot of flack for where Andromeda went, because he was left to be the one carrying the water. He went out there and did his best to keep publicity for the show positive after the writer change, and as a result, people assumed that he was the one who made all the changes, and it doesn't seem that way. It seems like there was some more stuff going on. So Henderson is going through Piccolo's stuff apparently and finds a adult magazine and tries to do the pose and just, it's like, I don't got it, can't do it. But it's incredibly whatever, I don't care about seeing this very adult centerfold magazine. She knows it's Piccolo's. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying, you need a command code on SeaQuest, Matthew. You do if you're on SeaQuest, but apparently all you need is this one module. You plug in the module to your computer, and you have complete control, provided there's no one aboard the SeaQuest, which is exactly what we're going to have this morning while the rest of the crew is out celebrating the appointment of the third chancellor. And so he's asking for Sandra, but lo and behold, who's this old guy but Sandra's dad? And he doesn't understand what's going on. Where's Sandra? And there she is. Sandra was faking the whole time. She's on the side of the people who kidnapped her. So it wasn't even kidnapped. It was all staged. She was a plant designed specifically to get Lewis to fall in love with her just so they could get this module. So really earth-shattering moment for Lewis there. Poor kid.
Should have listened to Piccolo.
Should have listened to Piccolo. So Columbo, he's putting all the pieces together. He realizes that Sandra Kirby isn't as sweet as she appeared. And we see that Bridger has the lie detector in his hands. And it seems like he's not really aware of what it is either. He's just fiddling around with it. And it turns out that her father was supposed to be the creme de la creme of the UEO, but at some point he got some unmentionable political ideas and was forced out 2 months ago. That the UEO has been going through the case to officially dismiss him, but his views are so abhorrent that he needs to be out of the UEO, and they've put him on basically extended leave until they can bring the case to officially oust him. Thomas is saying, you want us to use violence on Sci-Fi Nation? No, hit up in the sense of contact. Not quite so literally is what I meant. I meant more metaphorically hit up. And Bridger, he's taking Lewis's side. You know, they're kind of wondering if Lewis is defecting and going to these radicals. And Lewis says, no, Lewis is too smart for that. And, you know, Columbo points out that there's been many a man who was too smart and yet, through the power of seduction, ended up going down a bad path. And then Bridger hands back the device, and I thought we were setting ourselves up for a triple here. So there is a wonderful comedic thing that James Avery thought up of with Looney Tunes. And maybe he didn't think of it. Maybe Vaudeville thought of it before him. Maybe the Greeks thought of it before him. But James Avery really solidified it through Looney Tunes, where you set up the gag twice, and you understand the way it's supposed to go, and then the third time they do it, they change it. So I thought for sure we were going to get our payoff moment where Columbo tried to use lie detector and someone actually recognized it for what it was. But no, that's it. Just the double setup. And Sandra, she's pretending like she cares about him now, wondering if he's all right. And Lewis isn't having any of it. He sees the jig's up. He's just brokenhearted now. And he calls her out. He's like, look, you need to be careful. You think you're trying to create a better world, but no, this better world is not going to have a place for people like you. Like, your dad's ideologies are going to end up making the world a worse place, and people who are smart, maybe even specifically women who are smart, aren't going to have a place in it. This is going to be a backsliding moment. And this is it. This is the moment I thought we were going to get the payoff. Columbo is now questioning Piccolo, and he's saying, where did you get the tickets? And he's like, I don't know, a guy walked up and gave it to me, said, have a good time. What am I supposed to do? Not use the tickets? And of course, Piccolo's going to do it. He thinks nothing strange of it. Bunch of sailors just handing out tickets. Of course I'm going to use it. And I thought Piccolo would be the one to recognize, like, if anyone was to know what a lie detector would be, it would be ex-con Piccolo. And it would have been a hilarious moment. But no, unfortunately, that we didn't even see Piccolo with the lie detector. Maybe a deleted scenes exists out there. Sci-Fi Nation is saying that anyone who wants to can contact him on Twitter, Discord, or email if they are interested in co-hosting along his streams. Or remember, Babylon 5 on Sundays and Andromeda on Tuesday. Don't miss out.
Thomas apparently has been a lot of trouble with the streams. It's been buffering a lot. I don't know if anybody else is having that problem.
It's, for once, it's working fine on my end. Count them, one. And Thomas was also saying that he probably thinks the UEO election was rigged. Maybe so. So they put in the read-only memory, and instead of gaining access to the SeaQuest, we see an emergency beacon being sent out by, well, he misspelled his name. He was in a rush. He said Lucas while in check. 8A9-5, green square, red rectangle, green triangle, something like that. Or yellow triangle, excuse me. And Lewis has somehow made it such that the read-only module, instead of giving them access to the dead man switch, it was an emergency beacon. And Sandra comes rushing in. What did you think you were doing? So I thought I was saving your life. Excuse me, that turns out that you were a double backstabbing jerk. So everyone shows up at the location of his emergency beacon. Cops come pouring out of the cars, and the gang of people comes away, and Sandra, as appropriate for the situation and somewhat cliche, says, "Back off or I'll blow him away." I mean it, back off. Now, James, he points out, he's like, let me and my men handle this. And the cop says, no, we're not going to let you do it. But then Bridger says, there's a kid over there. Let us handle this. Now, remember, we have seen in the episode with the orangutan that the UEO has access to special equipment that can stun people, and special equipment that you have to put in earbuds, because once you activate it, it sends out a debilitating. There we go. Man, once you get the word wrong, it just won't go on. But debilitating sonic pulse. So they have lots of technology that can non-lethally end this in a moment. And they decide instead they need to rappel down in full view of the bad guys and start a firefight with them. Not with stun guns, but with green laser set to kill weapons. And Lewis is standing there. At this point, Lewis should be shot. Lewis should be all the shots by Sandra. But by complete coincidence, Lewis is able to get away, and Brody says, shoot the awning. All of them start to shoot down the awning, and it comes crashing down on our last three not dead members. So I don't know how this was any different than what the cops would have done, but apparently this was the better solution.
It was the rappelling down the wall. That was the key.
Clearly. So Bridger's saying, it must hurt, and Lewis goes, well, what would you know? And Bridger says, well, for what it's worth, I won't be accepting your resignation. And, I wasn't willing to give you up before, so why would I be willing to give you up now that you're older and more mature? And Lewis is very touched by this. Which, of course he is. Bridger is like his second dad. It's always nice to know that your dad still loves you even after you screw up. Majorly screw up. Like, almost got the SeaQuest stolen. Got three people killed. Was kidnapped. In terms of screw-ups, Lewis really screwed up. This is a pretty big one. And Sandra tries to claim that because they both follow their hearts, that makes them completely alike. And Lewis is like, what? No, we're nothing alike. She says, no, because you followed your heart and I followed my heart about what was right. We're both alike, which is just the worst false analogy I think I've ever heard. Like, right up there with someone claiming that you don't see any other carnivores drinking water, which is false. Therefore, why would we need to drink water? To which I would say you don't see any other carnivores driving cars. False analogies are false. But the DeLuise brothers are giving us lots of fun information about walruses, like the fact that they use their whiskers to find food. They have 18 teeth. And good old Dagwood ducking down so you can see the walrus waving goodbye. And that is our episode for the night. Mercer Crate, how are you doing? Wondering if I have heard from Salty Trekker. I have not. So he was hoping to join me at the very end of the stream and do a quick tabletop simulator thing. Haven't heard from him. Hopefully, I know he wasn't feeling super great earlier. I did see him over on Bird Stream with the meat guy, raw meat guy. So he was at least doing good at that point. But I know in general, he hasn't been feeling too great today. So hopefully he's in bed. It's 10:40. I too wouldn't be amiss for getting in bed right after this stream. And so I hope that's what he's doing, because we can do my tabletop simulator later. I do have a great game for him to play. There was a lot of complaining going on when we played the Deliverance game because it was too complicated. So I found a much more everyone else's speed type game, which I think will be fantastic. So what did you think about the episode, John?
Well, the obvious is that there are some serious drawbacks to this episode. Yeah, the main one is that Darwin wasn't in it at all, except for that one little scene at the beginning.
Which was better than what we got last week.
That's true. It is a slight improvement over last week.
Yeah.
And on another note, you notice that Commander Ford wasn't in this episode either.
That's right. I hadn't realized it till you pointed it out.
I looked this up earlier to check, and this is the only episode of the series that he does not appear in.
I think Lewis is the only one who appears in every single episode.
Yes. But anyway, it was an interesting episode overall. Although it's another example, we've seen a lot this season, they spend more time on the land than they do at sea sometimes.
Yeah. And it was also an episode that was kind of more action paced, which this season has definitely been more action paced than season 1, which was definitely the way the 90s were going. So we're in 1994 at this point, and let's see, Voyager came out in 95.
It was 95.
And Voyager was definitely an uptick in action, easily over TNG, but even over DS9 at the same time period. DS9 built up to its action in the Dominion War stuff, but it didn't start off as a high-octane adventure. It started off much more TNG-ish. So here we are in 1994 with SeaQuest, and the Nation in general was more popcorn flicks action stuff. Like if you just look at the episodes from, or the TV series from 93 or 94, 95, you will see that a lot of them are high octane. And that kind of trend continued until, I want to say, the end of the 90s, in which we started to get some more balanced stuff. And honestly, I think serialization is what caused things to be more balanced. Once TV shows became less episodic and more an ongoing story, things kind of corrected. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but that's what I get. That's the impression I get. Because I remember another one of my favorite TV series called 7 Days came out in 1998, is what it's saying. And it is definitely high octane, a real man's man kind of show. Explosions, blood pouring out from everywhere because, here's this real tough guy. He's going back through time, and the top layer of his skin doesn't quite make the trip because the time travel's not perfect. But he can tough it out because he's a man's man. I mean, you expect to see a bald eagle land on his shoulder because he's so patriotic. So I mean, this was just the direction things were going. But it was a great TV show, a real fun sci-fi series. But we do see SeaQuest kind of went this direction too, and they had good episodes still, but I really wish we had more of the thought-provoking episodes that we got in season 1.
I imagine that the increased action was also an effect of the first season not having great ratings, and they were trying to up the action to keep people more interested.
I didn't realize
the
that.
network would tell them to do that.
Okay.
yeah. SeaQuest was always like under like cancellation fear because the ratings weren't very good.
Which is understandable. I mean, it came out with DS9. How do you compete against that? Poorly. Poorly is the answer.
Apparently so.
Okay, now I'm actually going to enter the TV series. TV series that came out in 1993. Let's see what it was going up against. The Animaniacs. I mean, that's a hard one to go up against. Back to the Future TV series, a French-American animated sci-fi comedy. How did I not know about this? But it came out in 91, so I don't know. I'm not seeing any list for what came out in 93.
And TNG was still going in 93 as well.
So it had an uphill battle. I can't think of anything else that came out in 93, but I should be able to. I wonder what year Martial Law came out. I don't know if you remember that one, but it was about I want to say a Hong Kong cop whose name was Semo Kambo, and he came to LA, and it was kind of going off the Rush Hour, where you had Jackie Chan and is it Arsenio Hall who played opposite of him?
I don't know.
Well, it was going off that. So you had a Chinese guy with a black partner, and it was a pretty good series, action TV show, cop procedural show. Then you also had Early Edition, which that may have been around the same, but I mean that was 1998, so Early Edition came out in 96, so that wouldn't have been contemporary either. But Early Edition was a show where a guy got tomorrow's newspaper and used it
I
to
remember that one.
great TV show. Had a cat in it, which, you know, just ups the level of goodness by default. Anyway, I think 93 was probably a hard year to compete against different things. Was Walker Texas Rangers at around then? Maybe. With Clint Eastwood. Wow. Chuck Norris. Yes, came out 1993. So this would have been a direct competitor to SeaQuest. I would have thought just by typing in TV shows that came out in 1993, they would have had, like some place like IMDb would have had, look at the shows that were in production in 93. But all I'm getting at are things like, oh, you had the animated Spider-Man, you had Power Rangers, you had Transformers, and that's more like it aired during this time, or maybe it was doing syndication in 93, and not so much like this is a show that existed in 1993. So
I think
what
Lois
was
and Clark is coming to mind. I want to see if that's at the same time or not.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
what were you saying?
I was trying to think in terms of like just greatness about this episode. I did like the twist that she wasn't a damsel in distress, that Sandra wasn't just, you know, some lady who Lewis had to rescue, but was actually part of the mastermind for getting Lewis. I like that the plan for kidnapping Lewis and being able to use him to get the codes actually made sense. Like, he definitely fell into the honey trap. And preying on Piccolo as a guy who wouldn't ask questions when someone gave him coupons. And setting up the daughter to be there specifically to be an interest to Lewis. Like, the only part where it starts to break down is she flat out rejected him at the first. And like to the point where she's like, you don't want to be wasting your 30 minutes talking to me. And it was so cold and aloof that Lewis left and then somehow came back and talked to her a second time. And they didn't show this, but somehow when he initially left, and came back, and that's when he succeeded in getting to her apartment. So that's the only part where the plan breaks down. Like, she should have shown a little bit of interest instead of giving him the cold shoulder right from the get-go. But beyond that one slight, little bump, the plan actually made a lot of sense for getting him, having him fall in love. All she had to do was basically agree with everything he was saying. And the fact that, like, she was smart enough in order to entice Lewis. So it wasn't just her putting on a complete act. She legit was an intelligent girl who Lewis is definitely attracted to that type of girl, as we know from season 1.
I looked up Lois and Clark. It aired from 93 to 97. I think I remember reading an article one time that's one of the shows that SeaQuest was competing against.
Okay. And someone is saying, or Josh Reed was saying that Babylon 5 came out in 1993. Let's see, Sliders came out in 95, so that would have been the last season for SeaQuest. When did Andromeda come out? Andromeda. 2000, definitely not. Earth Final Conflict. That's something that should have been around the same time. 97. Wow. I guess I never realized this, but apparently 96 to 98, some of my favorite childhood TV shows, teenage years TV shows came out. Josh is saying that I forgot about the Back to the Future show. The only live actor, or he forgot. No, I forgot? I never saw the Back to the Future TV show. But apparently the only live actor that was in it was Doc Brown. And at the start and the end of each show. I had no idea.
Oh, and Josh confirms that SeaQuest and Lois and Clark were actually on at the same time on different networks.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah. Lois and Clark was a pretty decent show for 93. There was another show, The Sentinel, 96. Wow. All the shows that I like came out in 96 to 98. Was Alien Nation around this time? That is an interesting one. That was a police procedural show that was 89 to 90. That's what I would have guessed. Because 89 was such an interesting year for movies and TV shows. It was kind of, everything's gritty, hypersexualized kind of content. Like, think RoboCop with the girl being topless in the shower. Like, that is the quality of stuff we got from 89. Whoopi Goldberg had a movie where she worked alongside a T-Rex, a guy in a rubber suit. And then you had things like Alien Nation. And Alien Nation, it was kind of like the concept of District 5, where you had aliens land on the planet, and except instead of where we did with wasn't it District 5? District 8? I think it was District 5.
I don't know.
It was an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Maybe District 9? District 9, a 2009 action film directed by Neil. I'm not getting that name right. So it wasn't M. Night at all. I'm all the wrongs. Anyway.
I'll try to contain my shock.
Yeah, please do. The idea with District 9 is aliens landed on Earth, and instead of integrating them, they put them in giant slums. They put walls up around them. But Alien Nation was the exact opposite. Aliens land on Earth and they integrate into our society immediately. So it was a cop procedural show where the main cop wasn't exactly a fan of them at the first, but came around to his partner who was an alien. And, they did cop procedural things, except the aliens, you'd always find out like these weird sexual things about the aliens. Like, they are a 3-gender species. So you have to have this other guy sleep with your wife, and then you sleep with your wife, and that's how they're able to conceive. and they actually, like, it's this big ritual ceremony and everyone watches, and they focus on that in one of the episodes.
Okay.
89 and 90s were some weird years for TV and cinema. But Lois and Clark doesn't count as sci-fi, says Arvik. True, it was just like a direct competitor. So yeah, final thoughts about this episode.
I mean, I enjoyed it overall, even though some characters were missing. So the plot made sense. Although like I said, I do wish they'd do more stuff actually at sea as opposed to on land. This is SeaQuest after all.
Yeah. I thought the plot was I thought the plot was good enough. The only part where it really kind of did a deep tank for me was the action scene at the end, where Brody goes in guns a-blazing. I'm like, wait, this is how you handle it better? This is all the worst. Like like as soon as I saw them grab the repelling rope, I'm like, wait, where are you gonna repel? Are you like gonna repel right in front of them? Don't you think they'll see the rope? And then they literally repel not right in front of them, 5 feet to the right of them. Our right, their left, excuse me.
But there was another good moment between Lucas and Bridger there at the end. I like that they're still developing their relationship.
Yes. I did like that as well. I mean, overall, the episode was good. I liked the characterizations we're getting. How everyone aboard the SeaQuest is like, Lewis, you're being dumb right now. Except for Henderson. And Henderson was giving like the worst advice possible. But it fit her character. Like, she's this very romantic individual. And I liked seeing that explored. I liked getting to see everyone's fantasy. Like, you thought for sure everyone was just going to be the power women draping all over them. But no, Piccolo just dreamed of being a rock star. Ortiz, he wanted to be in the antebellum South. That was the funniest thing to me. Of course, Dagwood was pure. And it was O'Neill. O'Neill was the one who dreamt of power. And getting to see Bridger do his role, do O'Neill's role, was
It's great.
It was beautiful. Did you watch Farscape by any chance?
I did not.
Oh, did you watch SG-1?
Watched about half of it.
Okay. Toward the end of SG-1, there was an episode where it makes more sense if you understand that the main character who came out over once Admiral Hammond was promoted, and then O'Neill became the general. Then you got this new character who I don't remember his character's name in Stargate. Contain your surprise. I don't remember his name. But the actor who played him was Ben Browder, and the lady who played opposite of him was Claudia Black, and they both came from Farscape. So Claudia's Black character was an alien, and she was always throughout this episode, she was doing episode after episode pitch to this producer to try and be like, hey, how about I got an episode for you that I want to star in? And he's like, you're ripping off of the Brady Bunch. You're ripping off of Star Trek. And finally, she rips off of Farscape. And in it, you see the main character, who would have been Ben Browder, except instead of playing his role, Daniel was playing the role of Ben Browder, because Claudia Black was in love with Daniel in Stargate. And in Farscape, Claudia Black loved Ben Browder's character. So he, he's looking down, and then he looks up, and you think you're going to see Ben Browder playing himself as John Crichton. And you're like, oh, this is so cool. And instead it was Daniel O'Neill character. And then Ben Browder comes out playing the crazy guy. And he's like, Frill, I don't know what's going on. And it was like just gut wrenching to see him not doing his role, and seeing Bridger do this quirky role was the same level of hilarious. I just love to see these moments where actors impersonate their fellow co-stars as how they would play the character instead of it's just a great thing. I love that sort of meta moment. Oh gosh. So I did enjoy the episode. I thought it had a lot of good points. Yes, it had some brain twist moments where why would you think that was good, but overall I enjoyed it. What are your final thoughts here, John?
Well, like I said, it was a pretty good episode overall. Like, yeah, the little stuff at the beginning where we saw what their fantasy score was hilarious, I thought.
Yeah. Well, cool. I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's stream. Enjoyed our look at SeaQuest Season 2, Episode 14. And everything nice. So I was wrong about my prediction. No one had a daughter. I thought for sure that was going to be a slam dunk, easy one. Just to see, you know, someone's daughter show up, you know, sugar, spice, everything nice. I was a little bit close to right. It was about a girl. I was just fundamentally wrong, which, hey, you know, that's me in a nutshell. That's me in a nutshell right there. Next week, episode 15, called The Dreamweaver. That sounds like it's going to be focusing on B'Elanna Troy. That's my guess for this week. We are going to get a villain who is invading people's minds, I'm going to say. And B'Elanna Troy is going to come to the rescue along, obviously, with Darwin. Darwin's got to get in there and save the day in Dreamweaver. There's my guess for the episode.
Well, so everyone, I will say is there's a special guest star in next week's episode as well.
Ooh, special guest star. Maybe the actual B'Elanna Troy will show up. That would be an appropriate thing if I'm thinking guest stars. So there we go. Everyone, look forward to it. Season 2, episode 15, Dreamweaver. This time next week. Y'all take care.
Night.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. And be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.